Iranian-aligned hackers are officially claiming responsibility for a cyber attack against Donald Trump's Truth Social platform in retaliation for Trump's unilateral and likely illegal military strike against Iran itself. And this may be a prelude to the sort of cyber warfare that Iran will inflict on the United States in retaliation for military attacks. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, apparently Iranian hackers tried to hit Donald Trump where it hurts, his social media platform, right? Because we have a terminally online president. As Mediaite reports, Iranian-aligned hackers claim responsibility for attack on Trump's Truth Social program. With the world waiting to see how Iran will respond to Saturday night's U.S. military strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, a group of Iranian-aligned hackers is claiming to have attacked something Trump holds dear, his Truth Social platform. Multiple social media watchdogs confirmed that an Iranian-aligned hacktivist group called 313 Team, or 313, I don't know how they pronounce it, but 313 Team, claimed responsibility for a DDoS attack, a distributed denial of service attack, on Trump's Truth Social platform just hours after the U.S. strike. Truth Social went down shortly after 8 p.m. on Saturday, moments after Trump announced the strikes on his account. Users attempting to access the platform during the outage were confronted with messages reading, "Network failed, please try again." The 313 team claiming responsibility is a component of a larger network of hacktivists aligned with pro-Russian and pro-Palestinian outfits. Their aim is to disrupt public infrastructure, government websites, and technology companies in Israel and beyond. The claim comes as the Department of Homeland Security is warning of a potential cyber attack potential cyber attacks, plural, from Iranian-affiliated hackers. Quote, Iranian government-affiliated cyber actors will probably prioritize retaliatory attacks against Israeli targets in the short term, but may target U.S. networks due to their perception of U.S. support for Israeli strikes, a DHS bulletin said this week. ABC News, in a report on potential threats, said the nonprofit think tank, the Center for Internet Security, CIS, briefed federal law enforcement on Friday about the possibility of an attack. Quote, the likelihood of such attacks will increase if the U.S. strikes Iran or overtly provides military support to the Israeli air campaign. So let's take a look at that article. After Trump attacks Iran, what experts and officials fear for the American homeland? Iranian cyber attacks are among the dangers facing the U.S., officials say. In the wake of Trump's massive precision strikes on Iran, concerns have been raised for both Americans in the region and at home. A principal area of worry is cyber attacks by Iranian state actors, including the targeting of the banking system or energy grid. A recent DHS bulletin warned, quote, Iranian government-affiliated cyber actors will probably prioritize retaliatory attacks against Israel targets in the short term, but may target U.S. networks due to their perception of U.S. support for Israeli strikes. The bulletin urged domestic critical infrastructure entities to immediately assess and shore up their security. Such attacks have already infiltrated U.S. water and wastewater systems, according to the nonprofit think tank Center for Internet Security, which briefed law enforcement on Friday. The center was also concerned that Iran, in the wake of Israeli military strikes, might use, quote, crude or escalatory tactics or informal networks if its capabilities were degraded. Quote, the likelihood of such attacks will increase if the U.S. strikes Iran or overtly provides military support to the Israeli air campaign, the group said. Of course, we have now struck Iran. And the center assessed that Iran's considerable network of proxy groups might be able to strike U.S. interests in the Middle East, though their capacity to strike the U.S. homeland was much more limited. The groups, they assess, while less sophisticated, could still disrupt public infrastructure and the private sector. On top of that was the fear of attacks by foreign nationals or American citizens inspired to strike the U.S. In 2018, the National Counterterrorism Center issued a report saying Iran-sponsored or Shia-inspired, referring to one of the two major branches of Islam which is dominant in Iran, terror on the U.S. homeland is unlikely, except if the U.S. were to attack Iran. Quote, given sustained bilateral U.S.-Iran tensions, the occurrence of such a catalyst could prompt Shia HVE, homegrown violent extremist, activity relatively quickly, underscoring the benefits of early engagement with Shia communities about indicators of HVE radicalization. Potential triggering events for such Shia HVE violence include the U.S. military taking action against Iran. Iranian forces themselves have previously targeted American interests, hitting U.S. bases in the Middle East, for instance, after top Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander, General Qasem Soleimani, was killed in an American airstrike in Iraq in 2020. That, by the way, their counterattack, just make sure everybody understands the timeline, happened on Trump's watch. So, yes, U.S. bases were attacked by Iran on Trump's watch. Iranian nationals have also carried out major cyber attacks. An Iranian national pled guilty last month to helping orchestrate the 2019 Baltimore, Maryland ransomware attack that caused tens of millions of dollars in damage and disrupted critical city services. While prosecutors did not allege, I'm going to butcher that name, so let's just say the suspect, was directed in his activities by the Iranian government, in announcing the case, they warned more broadly of Iranian government-backed hacking groups targeting U.S. critical infrastructure. And in the summer of last year, the Justice Department also separately charged a Pakistani man with ties to the Iranian government for allegedly seeking out to carry political assassinations. Authorities told NBC News that among Asif Merchant's targets were Trump and other current and former U.S. officials. Also note that, yes, it has been credibly reported that Iran has previously targeted Trump and former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, as well as others in the Trump administration, after they arranged for the assassination of Soleimani. And on top of that, when Trump got back into power, he pulled government protection from Pompeo and from Bolton, his own former staffers, because they previously criticized him, leaving them more vulnerable, certainly, than anybody, certainly compared to Trump, to retaliation by Iran. I mean, just goes to show how petty and cruel Donald Trump really is. The New York Times is also discussing, again, the potential cyber implications there. Iran has a variety of responses if it chooses that show both resistance but also restraint, said Sanam Vakil, director of the Middle East and North Africa program at the Chatham House, a London-based think tank. Khamenei, the Ayatollah, could approve leaving the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and expelling the nuclear inspectors from the International Atomic Energy Agency, and that is the agency whose initialism I butcher all the time. It's the IAEA, who have been monitoring Iran's nuclear facilities. He could target those U.S. bases in the region that have largely been evacuated and activate the Houthis in Yemen to resume their attacks on American ships in the Red Sea. Quote, this would actually be a cautious mix of options designed to show that Iran has the ability and the daring to stand up to Trump, but is trying to avoid full-scale regional escalation. Quote, if Khamenei sidesteps strikes on the U.S., this lays the pathway for diplomacy and will signal to Trump his intention to de-escalate, she said. Trump, too, by warning Iran of the strikes in advance and limiting them, at least so far, to the 3 main Iranian nuclear sites, also showed restraint, she said. The American attacks, for instance, spared political targets and military bases. But the Ayatollah hardly trusts Trump after he unilaterally pulled out of the 2015 nuclear deal that Iran agreed to with the Biden administration and other governments in 2018. Even if there were a new pact agreed upon now, Vakil asked, quote, could he trust Trump to provide sanctions relief and ensure Israel is on board? Iran could do much more, of course. It could try to close up the Strait of Hormuz to shipping, a move that could drive up oil prices by blocking oil tankers from leaving or entering the Persian Gulf. It could attack the energy infrastructure of Gulf states, as it did in 2019. It has a sophisticated cyber warfare program that it could activate, and it could work with al-Qaeda to hit Israeli and American interests in the region and abroad, from bases to embassies. Iran will do more and aggressively, says Eli Garamea, an Iran expert at the European Council on Foreign Relations, a think tank. Quote, Iran knew this was coming and will have prepared a chain of responses, she said, with an immediate escalation of attacks against Israel. So I don't know what's going to happen again. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen, but it is interesting that, again, this Iranian-aligned group of hacktivists are claiming credit for a DDoS attack on Trump's Truth Social. Will those attacks persist? Will they escalate to other things? Will they try to go after U.S. government websites or banking sites? It's possible. And this could be a prelude to something considerably more dangerous for people who are not Trump and people who are just simply not obsessively interested in his, Twitter wannabe social media site. But there you have it. Right now, they are trying to hit Trump where it hurts, and that is his ego, his vanity, his projects like Truth Social, and we'll see what comes of it. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.